These are massive numbers, and we're talking about a company that has really come to the forefront of the investor's mindset. Certainly talking here from London, we don't necessarily look for Danish companies as the big growth names for European stocks. But we're talking about a company that's going from strength to strength. When you're looking at those sales numbers that we've seen up over 30%, we're looking at net profits up over 50%. And then we try to consider exactly how things could look going into 2024. This is a growth stock set within largely a continent that has a lot of old businesses, essentially, that don't necessarily grow at this kind of clip. Most notably, we saw that Wegovy, the obesity care product, up 147% in terms of sales, well outstripping that of the diabetes drug, which is Ozempic, up 48%. That is the bread and butter, essentially, of this company. But quite how far this weight loss product in particular is going to go, that's really likely to capture the imagination of the everyday investor.
So who else are making drugs like these? Is this a competitive market?
Increasingly so. I mean, ultimately, when you see something that is working out really well and it's very profitable, others are going to copy that. The chief competition is Eli Lilly, and they have been competing in terms of the diabetes area with Novo Nordisk for the last 100 years. And so, you know, for investors, they will obviously try to weigh up, do we want to get into the sort of second in line here, or do we want to take the market leader? Ultimately, that competition could drive down the ability to set prices, and that price competition could hurt margins. But certainly, the price isn't necessarily that cheap, and we have been hearing from some people, certainly in North Carolina, we've seen comments saying, you know, we're paying $1,500 for our treatment, and over in Denmark they're paying closer to $300. So that ability to charge this oversized price in the US could be key, and question marks around about whether insurers are going to be willing to pay for it. If so, then they might be able to charge these somewhat exorbitant prices.
Well, these kind of weight loss drugs like Wegovy, they're a fairly sort of new area, aren't they? With more regulation potentially in the pipeline, could that end up having an effect on the company?
Well, the idea is, certainly from an investor standpoint, is that we would get more regulators approving it and more insurance companies approving it. Bear in mind, you're talking about a drug that, certainly from the perspective of the company, will save money to insurers and governments, because people won't necessarily have to deal with these comorbidity issues that come alongside obesity, one of which could be diabetes. So if you have less obesity, then you're going to have less people out of the job, less people in the hospital receiving different treatments. And so this is hopefully going to be something that will grow in sort of regularity and should really bring down those obesity levels to a state where they're relatively manageable in areas where potentially in the UK and the US it has become increasingly an issue.
Joshua, good to talk to you today. Thank you for joining us again on the programme. That's Joshua Mahony from Scope Markets.